Year 2020 has been quite the year. An year that has been described by many people with many words, many adjectives. For me, I call it the year of many lessons. We learned many things from COVID-19 and from the coronavirus. One of the things that we have learned is the essence of family. We woke up one day and we were all asked to go back to our families, go back to your homes. And for many people, that was a totally new phenomenon. We quickly realized that we live in houses and not homes because when we reclined back to our homes, we had to reestablish the relationships with our spouses, with our children. And indeed, we saw an upsurge of domestic violence within this period where people were asked to go back home. The essence of family, a key lesson of 2020 that cannot be forgotten. Another lesson is how interconnected the world is. We woke up one day and we all had to wear masks. It didn't matter whether you were black or white, whether you were from Nyeri or from Turkana, we were all asked to wear masks. For me, I thought about just how much of bodily fluid, saliva that we share unknowingly over the years. And all of a sudden, it hit us on our faces. You know, it reminded me of a time back during my MBA when my professor said to me, you need to start reading a book by Thomas Friedman called The World is Flat, showing the interconnected nature of the world and where the world was headed. I start and rethought and reread that book again. But the book talks about how technology makes the world flat, that you don't need to be anywhere in the world. You have technology in the palm of your hand and you have exposure to information and knowledge across the world from the palm of your hand if you have a mobile phone or if you have, if you're connected to any sort of technology. But this time, what put us together and connected us was a pandemic. Was all of a sudden, we thought that the developed world would have enough hospitals and we saw them struggling. We saw the developing countries struggling. So really, the world is just one big place that is interconnected. And solutions must therefore not only be local, but be global. Second lesson. The third lesson for me, and one that I think has been the real take home and what will help us in 2021 is being able to re-engineer our thinking, re-engineer our businesses. Businesses have been affected globally. Businesses have been affected countrywide. We've seen SMEs closing down. We've seen large businesses issuing profit warnings to their investors, really saying, we're going through a hard time. We're not going to be able to make a profit. We're going to have to shut down this business. And for me, that is extremely unfortunate. When you shut down a business, you don't only shut down a business. It's just not the profit that goes. It's also the livelihoods of the people employed in the business. It's the dreams of that entrepreneur. It is the motivation. It is the ambition of that person that goes down the drain. So when we hear that businesses have closed, indeed, it's a very, very, very sad state of affairs. And let me run you through a few figures in the country. Kenya as a country is not doing well. That is a fact, and it must be stated as just that, a fact. If you look at the NSE 20 share index, the Nairobi Securities Exchange is actually considered as a barometer of the economy. It has been down 30% year to date. We have seen the NSE 20 share index coming down to about 1893, which is what I think it closed at yesterday. That should be the greatest indicator of how the economy is doing. Let's put the economy aside. Let us look at our rate of unemployment. Our rate of unemployment has doubled from 5.2% to 10.4% as at July, August of this year. So what does that mean? That means we have twice the amount of unemployed people that we had in January of 2020. The GDP growth rate is actually growing at a negative. We were growing at least positive for about 5% at the beginning of the year. Now we are actually growing in the negative. If you, for instance, look at our Kenya shillings, the Kenya shilling is sliding against every major currency, currently trading at 109 against the dollar. What this tells me And I think the CS for Treasury recently alluded to this. We are going through hard times. And when you look ahead, there are only harder times that beckon. And therefore, the country is not doing well. We are overly indebted. And what is even worse about the Kenyan debt situation is that at least 50% of this debt is dollar denominated. So when there are currency fluctuations, then we are losing more and we are having to pay more to those that we owe. If you look at, for instance, any indicator, our trade deficit is now at, I think, $92 million. That in itself should tell you that if you are doing a business, you're going to have to pay more for the same goods, to import the same goods. Now, it's an open secret that Kenya is really overly more on the import and less on the export side. There's the trade imbalance, that's what they call it. So the country is not doing well. And there's only one thing that can make us do worse than we already are doing. That is political instability. When I listen to politicians bickering left, right, and center, when I listen to politicians getting into empty rhetoric and throwing words and mudslinging against each other, my heart leaps. It leaps because I can make a connection between political noise and the economy. And this is where Kenya should head. Getting leaders who can make that simple connection of what your political actions will mean to the country's economy. Whenever there is noise in Kenya, what you will see, and I say this because I've also worked at the Nairobi Securities Exchange for a good chunk of my corporate life, what you will see is an outflow of investment from this country because investors don't want to be in an environment that they are not sure about. An environment where there is political bickering, where the future is still unknown politically. Nobody wants to put their money in that kind of an economy, especially when you know that an election will also lead to violence. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let us look at our politicians in the eye and tell them just one thing. In 2021, they need to shut up. They need to get down and get some work done. 1 decibel more, 1 decibel more, 1 shilling less to Mwananchi. We are already not doing well. We need to help this country refocus. And the president has just made his remarks. He called 2021 the year of rebuilding. How rightly so. It's got to be the year that we will all come together. We will all need to pool our efforts together to rebuild our country, to rebuild our nation, so that we can all dirty our hands, roll up our sleeves. Everybody, big or small, politician or the person in the village, woman, man, we need all hands on the deck in 2021. Happy New Year.